Hello and welcome to another Maine SBDC webinar. My name is Kelsey Reardon and I'm with the state team right in USM's Portland campus. So we are, Alison and I were talking, I'm on campus today. So we are starting to return to our offices. We're starting to do some advising sessions in person. We're all just being flexible and doing what works best for everyone and some sort of hybrid version of everything currently. So if you are not familiar with the Maine SBDC, we are the Small Business Development Centers, and we're here to help with all your small business needs. So we provide no cost confidential business advising. So we can answer your questions or we can find somebody who can. And today we are very lucky to have Maine SBDC at CEI Business Advisor, Alison Lane, and we're going to be going over online reviews. So how to get them, how to respond to them, like Alison said, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we'll be going over kind of how to get them and then how to respond, perhaps tactfully when needed, or just encouragement in general. So thank you all for joining us today. If you have any questions along the way, go ahead and stick them in the chat below, but also feel free to respond to any of my emails because it all end up in the same place. So probably tomorrow, I'll be sending out a follow-up email that will include all of the resources we cover. So the slides from the presentation, as well as a link to the recording. So if you have to jump off early or you want to rewind something, you'll be able to do that. And likewise, all of our contact information will be in there. So if you have any follow-up questions, you'll be able to get in touch with the right person. I think that's pretty much it. So we're probably ready to get started. So I'll pass it over to Alison.
Thanks, Kelsey. And if you like today's webinar, check out our YouTube channel because we put a lot of our recordings from these webinars on there. So if there are more topics you want to learn about, we might have already done a webinar on it. But I'm really excited for this one, and I think you guys will enjoy it. It's a little bit more, webinar sitting in front of the screen, staring at your screen, especially when someone's just talking at you, can get pretty dry. So today we're not talking about taxes, we're not talking about numbers or financial projections. Sorry to Rainer. But we are talking about something that's a little bit more fun, and that is online reviews and marketing. I've also sort of structured this presentation. So at the end, we're going to look at some real life examples of actual reviews and how those were responded to. So it's a little bit interesting. And maybe one of the best things about this webinar is that it's not complicated. What you're going to learn today is not something you're going to need to really digest or hear over and over again. It's a lot of common sense and a lot of building on what you already know and what you already do. So useful information, tidbits here and there, you'll probably take some notes, but it's not complex. You'll be able to put it into play right away. So you can just kind of sit back and relax and enjoy the ride without being too stressed that you're learning anything super complex. So that said, let me bring my screen up and we will get started. So as Kelsey said, I'm Alison Lane, business advisor. I typically work out of our Bangor office, covering Penobscot and Piscataquis counties, but I'm happy to work with any of you if you have questions. So much is happening virtually by phone nowadays that I'm happy to meet with people outside of my geographic realm. That's since COVID, all of that has sort of kind of threw geography out the window. Oops, if I can figure out how to change my slide. There we go. So Kelsey mentioned, we're recording this. There are some links in my PowerPoint, so you'll have access to those links when you get the follow-up email tomorrow. Please keep yourself on mute through the presentation. Submit any questions you have in the chat when you think of them, and we'll cover them at the end. And you might have a chance to ask a verbal question at the end, but just time-wise, please keep yourself on mute as we go along here. So what are we covering today? Just to make sure that you're in the right place and interested in this. First, we're going to talk about where should you have reviews, why bother getting reviews. I feel like most of you on this call, You're here because you know reviews are important. You want to learn about them. Why sit for an hour webinar if you didn't? So I'm not going to spend a lot of time trying to convince you. How do you ask for reviews and why? How do you respond to good reviews and why respond to those good reviews? Responding to bad reviews or the ugly reviews, we'll also talk about that. And we'll go through some examples of some responses. So first off, we'll kind of fly through these first few slides to really get to the meat, but where do you get reviews? You know, we're talking about online reviews here. There are your general social media type sites. You know, there's the three most common: Facebook, Google, Yelp. These tend to be where most businesses of all industries will start. There are also many industry specific sites, depending on what your business is. You know, if you're a tourism business, there's TripAdvisor. If you're a restaurant, you've got OpenTable, Home Advisor, Angie's List if you're more of a contractor doing work for the public, you know, plumbing, electric, roofing, that kind of work. So there are some industry specific review sites or sites that give to go read about you and learn about you. There are some other review sites, the Better Business Bureau and Glassdoor, you know, so other review sites that are a little bit different, not really for marketing purposes. So not really the focus of today's conversation. For example, Better Business Bureau is typically for when you're bad, and people will go on and, you know, discredit you as a business. And Glassdoor is more for employee reviews, you know, reviewing employment as a company. So we're not really going to talk about those today, but I just want to acknowledge that you may hear of people getting reviews on those sites, not really for marketing purposes. And then also not really the subject of today's conversation, but there are testimonials, which is really the opportunity to take your reviews and blow them up and say, hey, look, I got this really awesome review. I'm going to take it, put it on my website or on my social media site with the person's name and maybe a little picture of the person, just to continue, just to kind of highlight the good reviews. We all know if we go on someone's website and read their testimonials, you're not going to read a bad testimonial. Nobody's going to highlight the negative reviews, but it can sometimes be helpful to pull those good reviews over and highlight them on your website. And there's a zillion other places you can go and get reviews. You absolutely do not need to be on all of these sites or even a fraction of them. So that this slide is not meant for you to start, you know, circling which ones you think you should be on. I just want to show you, don't be overwhelmed. We're just going to talk about a few, about picking a few and really taking full advantage of being on those sites. So where, you know, which of these should you be on? It's really quite simple. It's wherever your customers are, and still not even necessarily everywhere. We're talking about where your primary target market is hanging out. And keeping in mind, sometimes to get on these sites, sometimes there's a fee, or there are fees if you get referrals, like Angie's List, for example, is one where if you get referrals from them, they take their cut. So a lot of these options are free, some of them not so much. So that will weigh into your decision as well. But in general, it's really about thinking about where your primary customers are so that you can be there when they're searching for you. And again, you'll get the slides, so if this is hard to read or if you don't, you know, I'm not going to hang out on the slide for very long, but this is just an updated review of the top 10 places where there's traffic and people are looking at and getting reviews. So you can see Google My Business is the top one. Amazon, so if you are on Amazon, an e-commerce business selling a product, that's number 2, but that's not going to relate to all of you depending on what you do. Facebook and Yelp are right there at number 3 and 4. So a lot of traffic in these places. If you look back, if you think back to that slide where I had all of those icons listed, this list is a good starting point if you're really overwhelmed with that one. And still, you don't need to be on all 10 of these, even if all 10 apply to your business. Shoot to be on 2, maybe 3, but 2 is good. And typically those 2 are Google My Business and Facebook. So why? Again, I won't spend a lot of time here because I think you're all already bought into the concept of reviews, but 79% of customers trust online reviews as much as personal recommendations. And it's a lot easier to get people to talk about you online than to convince someone to, you know, at Thanksgiving dinner, start rambling about your business. 9 out of 10 customers read reviews before making a purchase. These statistics are linked, by the way. I'm not just making these up. And obviously, like any statistics, they're broad. So I'm sure that product-based businesses versus service are slightly different. But the point is, people read reviews. I'm sure you all read reviews. And here's another one. So product pages with reviews experience 3.5 times more conversions to sales. So I talk to a lot of clients that say, well, my website's getting a lot of traffic, but for some reason, nobody's buying. And maybe one of those things is, your website is not targeting conversions. You're not encouraging people to buy. They're not seeing reviews, so they don't understand. They don't quite buy the credibility. Or maybe the purpose of your website is not to make a sale. Maybe it's just to let people know you exist so they'll come into your store. So a million different reasons, but reviews can help convert some of those viewers, some of that traffic into sales. In general, reviews add credibility. That's pretty obvious. You can talk about yourself and how great you are all you want, but seeing your customers talk about you is much more powerful. Reviews are a great opportunity to interact with your customers, and any interaction with customers, I shouldn't say any is good, but businesses don't tend to interact with customers enough. So good opportunity, good, easy opportunity to interact. Feedback. So good reviews, bad reviews, some of it you have to take with a grain of salt and realize that the people are not really part of your target market, and you absolutely cannot please everyone. But there's also a lot of good meat in reviews as far as, are there things that you can be doing to improve? So reviews are not all about marketing and helping the public see what the other customers think, but it's also a good chance for you to get some help. And if you start seeing the same things mentioned in reviews over and over again, it can help you start to realize what's a you problem versus what's a them problem. Increase your star rating. So you'll see on Google in particular, you get, a 5 stars. And what sometimes happens is you first open up and you only have 4 or 5 reviews, and one of them was bad. And so even though only one was bad, it brings your star rating down quite a bit. About a year ago, so the SBDCs regionally, we all have our own Facebook pages, or we all have our own Google pages. And about a year ago, my supervisor came to me and she goes, Allie, the Bangor office, like you guys have like a 3-star rating. You've only got like 3 reviews on there. Like that's not good considering, we're sitting here telling you guys how important reviews are. So I took a day and emailed a big chunk of my client list and said, hey, can you get me a review? And I'll explain, we'll talk in a minute about how to do that. But so within a day, I brought that star rating up simply by asking for reviews. So sometimes, a glance at the star rating is the difference between someone who recognizes your business versus another. And it doesn't take very many bad reviews to bring that number down. And search engine optimization. So being found on the web when there are so many people on the internet, so many of your businesses and competitors on the internet, it's very easy to get buried. And getting reviews and responding to reviews is just one way to show Google that you're a legitimate business and that you deserve to be on page 1. So reviews can also help with the search engine optimization element of being online as well. So let's talk about asking for reviews. Again, it's really embarrassing that, we're business advisors, and up until a year ago, we only had a couple of reviews on our site because you forget about it. So this is me reminding you to go ask for some reviews, because people love to share their opinion. So why not take advantage of that and give them the opportunity to help you out as a business too? You don't necessarily need to ask people to review you on multiple sites. I'd say at most have them, in 2 different places, but never send them like a list of links and tell them to go everywhere. The point is, we want to make it really easy for them to leave a few words for you. And making it easy often means sending them a link that's going to direct them right to where you want them to be to leave the review. Don't make them search for it. Careful, don't bribe for good reviews. You can kind of bribe in a way for any reviews, but You can't tell people, hey, go leave me a good review and I'll give you a gift card. Like that's not legal or ethical. Sometimes it's signs in your store or little cards in your store that people can take home. That tends to be an extra step though, that you're going to get a lot less conversions to actual reviews. So if you're already online and you can get people to click a link, that's a lot better. Strike while the iron is hot. Google, I don't know, many of you I'm sure have experienced, you go somewhere, you go to a business, and as you're leaving or, you know, an hour later, you get a message on your phone from Google that says, hey, did you enjoy this restaurant? Tell us about it. And then you can click it and leave a review. Like, could it be any easier for you to leave a review? So Google does that I think it's called geocaching when they know where you are, which is creepy, but if you are on Google, you can take advantage of that. But also if you're asking for reviews, making sure to reach out to people in an appropriate time frame. So I stayed at a hotel recently and the very next day I got an email from them asking for a review. So that was great. Now, if they'd waited a month, I would have totally forgotten. I'd been like, no, I stayed there a month ago. Like so much has happened in the last month. I don't even remember if I liked it or not. So strike while the iron is hot. And note the difference. So reviews are really about public marketing, letting your other customers talk about how great you are or how not great you are. Feedback tends to be more of a private thing, which you should also seek from people to get, you know, full transparency and honesty, but it's not really what we're talking about here. It's more of a private concept. And then surveys, another great way to get information from your customers about what they're thinking. So it's not all about just getting reviews for marketing purposes, but that's the focus of today's conversation. Just don't ever think, you know, I think a lot of people in business tend to assume they know what their customers want, and you never actually ask them, and then come to find out your assumptions, you know, can sometimes be off. So don't sit down and try to plan your business. Spend more time sort of out there talking to customers and really verifying your assumptions. But I'm going to get off. That was kind of a soapbox. I don't think I need to say this, but I left this slide in here anyway. I just don't seek fake reviews. That's unethical. It's not only is it unethical, but there is policing in place. Like they'll find you if you're getting a bunch of fake reviews or leaving a ton of reviews for yourself. So just don't. So let's talk about asking for reviews. So this is a great example. And again, you'll have this slide so you can look back to this, but a great example of how to send an email to your customers. And you can send a blind copy. So, you know, you don't want your recipients to be able to see your other customer emails. You have to be really careful there with privacy. You could essentially copy and paste. You will lose some of the benefits of the personalization. But there's also email marketing softwares that can have it so that you send the same email out and it automatically puts the name in, like the MailChimps of the world and that sort of a thing. But right now we're just talking about the content of this email, how to provide the language to ask. So what's great about this one, they say, you know, hello, Sarah, it was a pleasure doing business with you. Thank you for being a loyal customer for 3 years. Not only did they use her name, but they acknowledged that they noticed that she's been with them for 3 years. So that immediately is going to catch their attention. You know, oh, these people care about me a little bit. So there's a little bit of explanation, you know, why are they emailing Sarah? But they don't go, it's pretty quick. They use the term feedback, which kind of negates what I said in my last slide, but it's a friendly term, you know, we just want to hear from you. I think it also kind of inspires a little bit more honesty. When you say feedback, it's like, oh, like you want the good and the bad, like, okay. And they include the link right in the email to make it really easy for Sarah to click that. It'll take her, you know, 2 minutes, as long as she just doesn't immediately delete the email, which if she likes her dentist and she wants to help them out, hopefully she'll click that link. So Google has a toolkit to, you know, get you some stickers and some canned social media posts as far as asking for reviews and things you can put up in your store to encourage reviews. Google wants more people on Google. So by offering this to businesses for free, it gets them more attention. So it doesn't hurt, takes like a minute to sign up for. And just to clarify, Google My Business, although I keep referring to it as Google My Business, they've changed it and now they're calling it the Google Business Profile. It's essentially the same thing. I mean, there have been some changes, but you can use the term interchangeably, Google My Business versus Google Business Profile. So just to be clear, because I know that's kind of confusing. So responding to reviews. 97% of customers who read reviews also read the replies, the responses. I know for me, that's like the first thing I click to. It's like, I want to read those comments. Like, I want the juice. I want to know, what's the conversation going? And 45% of customers say that they're more likely to visit a business if it responds to negative reviews. So that's kind of interesting. And it makes sense when you think about if there's a negative review and the business hasn't responded, it's a little bit questionable. It's like, oh, okay, like they didn't, not only is it kind of rude, but is this review legitimate? The negative response somebody said. So we're going to talk about responding to negative reviews in a moment. Basically, do it, respond to most, if not all of your reviews. It'll only take you a second. Oh, and I should say, do it quickly. Try to do it within 24 hours of getting the review if you can, or at least within a few days, or maybe once a week you've got your social media time, and during that time you go in and respond. You can rarely remove reviews if they're true spam. We'll talk in a minute. You can get them removed, but if someone leaves a bad review, even if it's non-truthful, you can rarely remove them. Keep it professional. It's should go without saying, but sometimes you get excited or you get heated and kind of forget you're using a business page to respond. Keep it brief. We're going to show some examples of some businesses that did not keep it brief. And be genuine as much as possible. Just with your words, be careful on how you come across. So we'll get to some examples in a minute. So let's start with the easy stuff, responding to the good reviews. Keep it short and sweet. Thank the person, be grateful. Make it personal if you can. A good opportunity to invite them back. And be careful, but you might also have the opportunity to make a suggestion. So if they leave a review and they mention a particular service or a particular product that they liked, and a similar, complementary offering that they would also like, you can mention it, but be really careful. This is mostly just you wanting to be grateful for the review. They don't want you to sell to them when they leave you a good review. But if it's a really good suggestion, do it. And a little bit more tricky, but responding to bad reviews. And I actually just want to pause for a minute because I see some questions in the chat. Oh, just checking on the recording. Okay, perfect. So responding to bad reviews. So first of all, when you first see a bad review, don't respond right away. I mean, it can be really tempting because you're angry and you start, your brain starts, the juices start flowing and you want to respond, but don't, let it cool yourself down so that it'll be easier to be professional. But if you can, try to get to them within a day or two. Again, sort of striking while the iron is hot. Be genuine as possible, even if it's hard. Apologize. Don't forget that you need to apologize. Don't jump right into solving the problem. Don't forget that apologies are good. The reason I have once here is because sometimes if you did something wrong, it can be really tempting to keep apologizing, and it really doesn't solve anything. It doesn't help fix it. The more times they read that you're sorry or that you apologize, doesn't fix the problem. It's like one of my most embarrassing stories was I was in a restaurant with my family and I grabbed the ketchup to put on my plate and I went to shake the bottle and it was one of those screw tops. Now, mind you, we were sitting at a table with like a half wall to my right. So I went to shake the ketchup and the screw top popped off and the ketchup went flying up over this half wall. Oh, Kelsey, it gets worse. Your face is horrified. So flying up over the half wall, right? And of course there's a table there. And of course there's a man sitting at that table, right? Bad enough. He had his laptop open. So the ketchup landed on his laptop and I was mortified. So I apologized like over and over and over again. And I felt so bad. I just wanted to melt into the floor. And the guy was not happy, but eventually we left and my dad had been with me and I was like, Dad, like, oh my God, that was awful. And he's like, Allie, he's like, apologize once. Unless you're going to replace the guy's laptop, you didn't need to keep apologizing. That solved nothing. That didn't make him any less angry. So unless you can do something about it, you don't need to keep saying you're sorry. So yeah, that stuck with me. Validate, empathize with them if you can, let them know. They want to know they've been heard. If there's something you can do to fix the problem, offer to take action or make that fix. Clarify if it's something, just clarification. I always think it's a nice touch when people put their name, their name and their position. So you'll see like the manager, because the business is responding to the review, but it kind of makes it like, oh, this is a real human person and not a business bot that's responding to my bad review. Keep it short, which can be hard, but we'll look at some examples of how people did that well and how people did not. One comment, one reply. If it should not become a conversation, if the person replies again and you haven't already invited them to take it to a private message, you can reply to that and take it private. But the reply is sort of putting on a show for the public that you care and that you're doing something about it. And mentioning that we're going to take this to private message also tells the public that you're taking action, but it should be a private conversation after that first comment. And sometimes we will look at an example in a minute, but sometimes you can have someone leave a new review when you fixed the problem. And so just briefly, how to respond to inaccurate reviews or spam reviews, the trolls of the world. So keep an eye out for it. Here's an example of a real one on Facebook from several years ago, but this person, it was on a restaurant. They said, should publish menu and other info on restaurant for marketing. Let's hope the food, service, and atmosphere are good. And on Facebook, you have the opportunity to put recommend or doesn't recommend. And this person said doesn't. Well, the restaurant wasn't open yet. I think they'd put their Facebook page up. They hadn't announced any opening. They were just kind of ramping things up. So I saw this and was aggravated as a former, food service business owner. I was like, really? Like, come on, they're already hurting their reputation. They haven't even opened yet. So good opportunity to reply to this and just sort of, maybe, hey, sorry for the misunderstanding. We will be posting the menu and information next week. And we will be opening to the public on November 30th. So just a little bit more information. And this would be a great example of if this person did come in, or maybe even in your comment, inviting them to leave an update. Like, we do hope you'll come in and see us and enjoy our food. And hopefully we'll recommend us after you've actually tried our food. But without sounding condescending. Don't do that, or passive aggressive. It's hard though. We're human beings. Sometimes it's a good chance to reply and offer some clarity. So I think this was a review on my cafe and bakery. Someone said, friendly owner. Yep, that was me. Can't wait to try the pizza on the 28th of December. Well, I never sold pizza or planned to sell pizza. And so I responded and I said, hi, and I said their name. Thank you for the kind review, but I think you may have confused us with blah, blah, blah. So I knew there was a business down the street that was going to be serving pizza later in the month. So just a chance to, I didn't want anyone to see that review and think I sold pizza. So a chance to clarify. So that's not an ugly review. That's not a spam review, but it's inaccurate. True spam reviews, if you get, bots or people trying to sabotage your restaurant, it happens. It's the internet. It's an ugly place. Each platform has a different policy for getting those reviews removed. And there's some links here on Facebook and Google Business Profile on how to remove spam reviews. And there's a link at the bottom here with a little bit more information if you think you have one of those reviews that is pure spam. It's in the best interest of the review platform, of the site, to get those things removed, because otherwise people aren't going to want to use their site for review purposes, their credibility. So let's go through some actual responses to some reviews and talk about where they went right and where they went wrong. So here's one simple: awesome place to get fit, very motivating and supportive staff, highly recommend. So it's a good review, and you might think, oh, okay, great, I'm just going to leave it. But this business owner was savvy, and they took a moment to reply. And they said, thank you, person's name, we're so happy to have you. So they replied, so good start. They said, thank you. They put the person's name, so it was personal. They kept it short and sweet. So 10 out of 10. It's no need for a longer reply when the review is very short. I don't feel like the reply should ever be longer than the review. So here's another one. Traveling through, great quick wrap for me. Lovely strawberry salad for the wife. Friendly owner, highly recommend. For the record, this was my business again. So this is the second person that said I was friendly. Just saying. So if any of you need some one-on-one advising, I am known friendly if you want someone friendly. So I responded and just said, thank you for your review. So glad you were happy with your experience. I was genuine. I really was. It was a new business and I really was excited. I was so glad they were happy. So that was me being genuine. 10 out of 10, a little biased, but. So here's one that's a little bit different. So this patron bought a cheesecake. Their mother got sick. They talked about the date on the cheesecake, and now they were unhappy with the price. This wasn't my business, by the way. I got bad reviews. Everybody gets bad reviews. This one wasn't one of mine. So anyway, so the person was clearly upset. And so the person responded, the business said, we deeply apologize you and your mother had this experience. We did the cheesecake according to the vendor of the item. We'll reach out tomorrow morning to the vendor to discuss the dating. Until then, we have removed all the slices that were delivered prior to today. Our deepest apologies, and we'll report back when we find out. We will be private messaging you to get some info to get them a full refund. So let's talk about sort of the good and the bad. I will point out they did apologize twice. Okay, there wasn't as many times as I apologized to the poor man whose laptop had ketchup on it, but a couple times. So, okay. They apologized in general, which is a good thing. They are taking action. What I love about this response is they're very specific with what they're going to be doing. They're reaching out to the vendor. They've removed the slices. They're ensuring this patron that this mistake is not going to be made again and that they take it very seriously. They're validating the problem. Great job. And they offered the opportunity for a private message to make it right and also to continue the conversation if needed. So 9 out of 10. I took 1 point off. It would have been nice for them to be a little bit more succinct with the wording and being a little bit nitpicky here, but the response was a little bit longer than the review, and that, I don't know, sometimes you want to be careful not to come across as defensive, but all in all, I mean, you could probably argue this is 10 out of 10. Now here's one. This is a bad one. So we won't read word for word, but basically the review was very bad. The service was bad. The food was bad. The manager was condescending. They will never be back. Like, okay, so bad. But what's alarming about this review is not that the review itself is bad, but it's the response. You can read through when you get the recording of the slides, but the business owner themselves replied. So first of all, you can see there's 12 comments here. That's not good. That's a dialogue between the business owner and the reviewer that should never have been made public. It should have been a private message if the conversation needed to continue. So 12 comments, not good. It's condescending. So the person spelled the word weight wrong in their review. They spelled it weight as in pounds or ounces when they were referring to weight as in like the wait time. But the business owner, you know this, and they chose to be condescending and passive aggressive about it. So that's not good. That's not professional. They weren't professional further down the review, talking about the patron was, they're personal attacks on the patron. And it was long. I mean, look how long this response was. So defensive, just argumentative, just spiraled. This person probably responded as soon as they read the negative review and just let it fly. This is, wait 24 hours, give yourself a moment to take a breath. I gave them 1 out of 10. I honestly, probably not responding to this review would have been better than what they did. So they probably don't deserve that 1, but we gave it to them. So let's take it back a little. So this one is basically a regular Jimmy John's customer that they've been making the same order for years and they've been getting it wrong lately. And the last sentence says, thinking about not ordering from them anymore. So Jimmy John sees this review and says, oh, this is a loyal customer. I got to hold on to them. Like, they're giving me an opportunity to do better. So Jimmy John's responded, I'm all over it, Judy. Send me your address and phone number to facebook@jimmyjohns.com so I gain your trust again. So Jimmy John's did pretty good, almost. So they were on brand. I like the language, I'm all over it, Judy. Like, I like that they kept it on brand. I don't like they didn't apologize. That kind of just rubbed me a little bit wrong. They didn't, so little apologies always go a long way. And they offered to take action and exchange private messages if more needed to be said. So 8 out of 10, pretty good job, Jimmy John's. So what have we learned? Reviews are powerful, but sometimes we have to ask for them. So it like I said, even us as SBDC advisors sometimes forget that we need to ask for them on top of mind for customers. So you might need to ask for them. You should respond to most, if not all, of your reviews. Be professional, but also be genuine. And if you want some more specific help on reviews, marketing, or any of our other sort of general small business topics, we're happy to help you one-on-one. It's all no cost and confidential. So check out our website, mainesbdc.org, and the big orange button, request advising. I think this link in the slide is actually live as well. So you can go right from the slide to request an advisor, or reach out to me if you have questions to follow up with. And so that said, does anybody have any questions? I don't think I saw anything in the chat as I was going, so.
I haven't seen any questions come in, but everyone feel free to stick them in there. Thank you very much, Allison. I always chuckle at a couple of those examples. And then I was having a conversation with our new data manager, Stephanie Case, this morning about a restaurant that she really loved, that then she went to, I think she went to leave a review, saw the reviews, saw how the owner was responding to reviews, and is now no longer going to that restaurant anymore because of how like mean the owner was being. So it's legitimate.
Wow, so you lose a customer by responding poorly. Yeah.
And she went to leave them like a positive review and then read some of the stuff that was on there and was like, oh, never mind. Didn't leave a review, but it's not going to go there anymore. So it's pretty incredible. I am interested. So the Maine SBDC's Facebook page has been getting a lot of spam review or like recommendations. So they're all like scammy cryptocurrency things. And we've had a hard time getting Facebook to remove them. They've only removed some of them. So I've been going in and leaving a comment that's like, spam alert. Please never take any financial advice from a stranger on the internet. Talk to one of our business advisors to like make sure that this is legitimate. But it feels like I'm going in just to dissuade people from reading that and thinking it's real, because I can't get them off the page. So we're all, doing our best trying to figure this out. AK Ames has a question. What happens when a reviewer insists on making the conversation public? Didn't happen to her or them, but a contemporary of theirs. I'd reach out once and drop it, but what would be the etiquette for reviewers drawing it out?
That's a good question. I mean, I think you kind of have to stay in control of the conversation as best you can, and kind of, I mean, I guess my strategy would be to put my foot down and say, I mean, you could even be honest and transparent for everybody else. Like, you know, I'm more than happy to take this via private message, but I will not be responding to any further comments on this review. Like the old PR trick of no comment. But if you've already responded and did the things we talked about today, you've already covered your bases. And now it's a matter of just saying, nope, you know, we can take this private, but we're not. I'm not stooping to your level, essentially, is what you're saying. That's how I would approach it. Can be hard. It's a little easier. It's nice though, because responding to online reviews, you get a chance to think about it. You know, you don't have to think on the spot. You can plan it. You can ask for feedback. You can call your SBDC business advisor and say, hey, what do I type in this? I'm not someone that likes to think on the spot. So a lot of times I'll have client meetings and won't have the answers. And I'll say, you know what, let me follow up with an email, or let's chat again next week when I've had a chance to digest. So you can really think about it. And we're happy to help with those specific situations that come up too.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. They said thank you. Great. Is there anything that, like, what if a business owner has never like checked any of their reviews or anything? Like, what's the first thing that someone should do?
Like to see if they have.
Yeah, like, I guess, like, what if you don't know if you have any reviews?
Well, I mean, I guess if you know what platforms you're on, like if you know if you have a Google page, or if you know you have Facebook, you know, then you'll know where to go to see your reviews. And I think you get alerted when you get them. So you can't really not know. But if you're a brand new business and you haven't signed up for a Google My Business page, or you don't have a Facebook page, you can still end up on those sites like Yelp. You know, there's like user generated accounts. So you could go through the list of the popular ones. That list of top 10 that I had on that slide, I would check those sites and just essentially go on Yelp and search for your business name to see if it's there. And some of the other sites similarly. And then you can kind of clear your control over it by proving that you're the owner of it. A lot of times, I mean, so aside from going to the actual pages of the sites and searching for yourself, even just to Google search yourself, you know, Google search your business name and scroll through maybe a page or two, not just the top page. And you might be surprised. You know, there was one time with my business, I found like a news article. They had like reposted from the Bangor Daily and moved it to another site, but they changed some things up a little. And I was like, oh, like I wasn't even a part of this, but this is talking all about me and my business. And it's kind of a gross feeling when you find yourself on the internet and you didn't know you were there. But yeah, Google your business, Google your own business to know what other people are seeing. Try to see it from their perspective too. And you might find some reviews that you didn't know were there.
Yeah. And I might add further, it might be worth it to do it in like an incognito browser, because sometimes your like cookies and cache that are saved will feed you links so like if you are constantly going to your website, Google knows that you like that content and will show it ahead of time. So it's worth it to like sneak around and try and spy on yourself.
Yeah, I'll have clients that think they have really good search engine optimization because they'll be sitting in their business office or at their home. They'll search for their business and be like, well, Alison, I'm right there. I'm right at the top. But then I'll search from, you know, my home in Eddington, and I don't search for the business. And I'll be like, no, you're not on here at all for me, because and technically if I'm in your service radius, and I'm a potential customer, why am I not here? And I know I had one client once, he had listed like the towns that he would do business for, but he hadn't listed everything within his geographic radius. So I wasn't finding him, whereas I should have been able to where I was searching from. So yeah, incognito mode is good, because your Google search engine is biased towards you.
Yeah, like everything. And then the only other thing I'll say is, if you haven't already, I don't even know what the right word is, if you haven't taken responsibility for your Google My Business page, that's not the right way to say that. But you can say like, yeah, that's my business. And there's a whole step process that you go through with Google, where they will send you a postcard to the address that's part of this. That doesn't have to be public information, but they will verify that you actually received that postcard. There's a code. But my understanding is Google My Business like pages can be started even if you, like for a business, even if the owner has not started it. So you might have reviews attached to your Google My Business page, even though it's not, you haven't, I don't know why I can't think of the right word.
Claimed it, right?
Claim. That's a good one. That's better than responsibility, but it's the same. So yeah, so definitely make sure. And we did a webinar on that last year, so I could find that link and include that in my follow-up information as well.
And I think since Google My Business changed to Google Profile, I have heard that if you are an online business and you don't have a physical location, it's not actually the same. It's not as easy to claim your page anymore.
Okay.
So don't quote me on that, but if any of you are struggling, if you're an online business and you're struggling to claim your page, watch that webinar or look into it, because it has changed. It used to be you didn't have to have a physical location, but they've become a little more stringent on it.
So yeah, someone commented their favorite cold call from a SEO expert was, they said, "You're only showing up on page 2 of Google." And the business owner said, "Because you're looking in Chicago and it's not applicable." So yeah, an expert is doing the best they can as well.
That's sad. I mean, you get a lot of digital marketing companies that will say they'll promise you to get you on the first page of Google, or they'll promise within a few months, but search engine optimization is a long game, and you can't, only Google can promise you that. So it's good that you caught that and realized, they're not here.
Yeah, and we have a couple of SEO webinars on our YouTube channel too. So definitely, if that's new to you, check those out. I don't see any other questions, but if anybody has them, keep them coming. But I will send out all of that follow-up information likely tomorrow, and it'll include the presentation slides. And so, like she said, all those links will be clickable within there, and the recording of the presentation and the slides, and all of our contact information. So if you're not set up with the Business Advisor, it'll be very easy for you to just click straight through from there. Michelle's saying, excellent presentation. I'd love to meet you, Allison. So we got another one. This is great.
I'd love to meet you too. Go shoot me an email.
This is great. Yep. Amy said, definitely a wealth of information, Allison. Glad that we can make all these connections happen. Alison she had her own bakery, and I always really appreciate her stories about navigating that world.
I find myself, if I talk one-on-one with any of you, sometimes the do as I say and not as I did comes up, and I'll tell you about mistakes that I made. Nothing as embarrassing as the ketchup. But
yeah, but that's like you're in somebody else's restaurant. It'd be different if like you were in your restaurant and you shook your ketchup with the pop top and then you shot it onto your customer. That feels like maybe you owe more than one apology. But in this case, I agree with your dad.
I probably would have owed him a new laptop at that point. But yeah, no, it's a personal, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining us. Everyone's just saying thank you. So I think we'll wrap it up for today. But again, thank you all for joining, and hopefully we'll see you at the next presentation.
Thanks all. Till next time.
Bye.